Hello everyone, it's Melissa Sweet here, Public Health Journalist from Croakey. We're at the AHMRC Cancer Forum in Sydney and delighted to have with us two of the presenters who've just presented on their fantastic work in smoking cessation in Central Coast, New South Wales. So we have David Reid and Christy Persch. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're from and what you do?
You want to go? It's actually mid-north coast that we're working at, so it's from South Grafton down to Port Macquarie.
Yep.
I guess I'll just talk about a few, of the community and the youth programs that we do, and Christy can talk about maybe the smoke-free policy work and some of the other factors. So we have youth prevention's a huge goal for the TIS program. It's been, a priority from the start, and Professor Tom Karma has a passion to make sure that he sees the future, a smoke-free future, and he sees that with, making sure that our youth are making those choices and doing things different, and also, taking the torch, for closing the gap for our community. We have focused our programs around that idea, of taking the torch and stepping up and being educated and making different decisions based on knowledge and new knowledge. So we talk about how smoking was introduced to our mob through rations, how it was used, why so much of our community smoke. We talk about trauma and intergenerational trauma and identity, like self-identity and cultural identity. We find that these factors and discussing these ideas is having more of an impact than just the negative health effects and that side of the health promotion alone. So, that's how
you talked about diving deep.
Yeah.
That's very holistic.
And also deep with, we've had some amazing discussions and feedback, and from even year 5 and 6 little ones. So. And we also don't talk down. We don't talk down to our community, we don't talk down to our youth. And that kind of health literacy and learning, new language is important. So we'll come back to a school, or whether it was an AHMRC juvenile detention centre session, and come back and they're remembering dopamine and the brain pathways and some pretty high level, information, and they're remembering it all and taking it in. And I think it's been great that showing respect to young people, that these are issues that they're aware of, they're worried about their families, they're worried about community, and they can learn this stuff, so yeah.
And what are some of the actual projects that you've done? You talked about football comps, local people in advertising and campaigns, etc. Could you just sort of detail some of the specific things that you've done?
So we do have a very broad presence on social media, so our Facebook site specifically. We also have done a lot of commercial TV ads and campaigns, and all of our campaigns and our approach to health promotion is to really identify our local people and our local places so that it's relatable to our communities and people understand that it's mob talking to mob, and that they're actually their family members. It could be a really well-known aunt or uncle in community that's sharing these health messages. And we find that's a really powerful tool when we're talking in our communities. And to lead on with what David was saying about sharing education and information, that's what we do with our brief interventions as well. So we do a lot of grassroots community stall education and interactive displays. So we have a phlegm jar, we have a tar jar, we have a multiple of hands-on resources that not only kids love, but adults really get engaged, and everyone wants to open the phlegm jar and have a smell, and it's disgusting, but it's engaging. And we think that if we can get people interested in talking about health, then we're able to actually talk about some real aspects of how we can look after ourselves and the choices that we can make to live longer, healthier lives. And we know that tobacco is a really is a big part of a lot of chronic disease. It's a factor. It's something that keeps people from not being able to afford food or their medications, and it is an all-round, has negative impacts on the family. So we educate our community so they understand the elements of addiction. We explain the reward pathways. We educate around nicotine replacement therapy use and combination therapies, best practice methods in smoking cessation. And we take our people on that journey, and we're not gatekeepers, we're not holding on to all of this information. We don't go and get educated and trained, go to conferences all around the joint without coming back and actually sharing that with our communities. That's where the richness is at, and we see ourselves as advocates for our community, and being able to take that information from wherever it might come from and make it really understandable and make it relatable for our community on their journey.
I guess that, you know, the sense of creativity and humour came across very strongly in your presentation. Could you tell us a bit about the superhero project?
So we have Deadly Dan, and there's also, so Deadly Dan's a superhero, and that's for our younger ones, so kind of kinder to year 4 age. So we have the evil Sicky Butt Man, and they have a big battle on stage, and like it's just simple messaging, like you smoke, you choke, and that's for the little ones, and like we get, you know, a crazy response at those school sessions. Like with the, I guess the humour side, it's also throughout our videos that we did. So we have over 30 videos that got made by young people about smoking, and like some are, I guess, more emotional and they're trying to talk to their family, and then some are just funny ones that they came up with. And like we try to, there's so much that we're trying to balance and mix with this, and trying to come at it with as many different directions. So there is the humour side, and then there also is the more emotional and serious side of it as well. And also the combination as well of traditional and cultural, and like we want to move towards more circle work and yarning circles, but then also, like, you know, we understand that youth and technology is going faster and faster, and we want to get ahead of that as well. So like our social media presence and Instagram and YouTube is a priority this year as well. Like we want to make sure that we're covering everything and have the most reach and impact. And with our school programs, those session guides are going to be available for schools to keep delivering our sessions without us there. That's kind of the goal, is having the most reach and impact in our region without us actually being there. We can only be in so many places at once, so that's why we want to educate AEOs and youth workers in the community to keep pushing those messages that are written up in a you know, strength-based way with that cultural, you know, awareness and sensitivity. So
I was also struck by your comment, you know, that you're not ostracising smokers, that you want to ensure there's safe spaces, friendly spaces for smokers. Can you just explain why that matters and how you go about that?
I think our people have been shamed enough, and that's what we don't want to do. We don't want to shame our smokers. We understand it's an addiction. For a lot of people, it is a coping strategy. So a lot of our education also talks about stress management. I talk a lot to the community around naming emotions and naming things that are happening in our lives. Because I find that the word stress is very overused, and it's used to explain a whole plethora of different things happening in someone's life. So if we can help people name how they feel, then we find that we can start coming up with some tools around taming those emotions and maybe finding another coping strategy that's better for us long term than smoking. So that's a really a pivotal part for me.
And you put up some slides in your presentation about evaluating the impact that you've had, showing that you have had quite a difference, made quite an impact. Could you just sort of give us an overview of what the evidence is there?
So we started doing a lot of this evaluation ourselves, and then I guess to get the amount of surveys done and to do it properly, like we just didn't have the time. Like we have to deliver our programs, so we've invested in some work with Jetty Research, which is a local company in Costa Harbour, and they've been great. Like we work alongside with developing the surveys and tweaking them and making sure they're culturally appropriate. And we've also employed 2 cultural research workers, so they're 2 young students that have just started in uni, and that's been great being able to employ, you know, 2 local young people, and then also having them, you know, come to our events and come to our medical centres and speak with the community. Yeah, they feel safe, I guess, with being able to talk to, you know, their own mob. So out of that research, we're able to do some research in 2014 and then see what's happening last year in 2017. And the biggest improvements were people attempting to quit. So that went from 24% up to 50% in the last 3 years, with people having 3 or more quit attempts over the last 3 years. So that was encouraging to see. And those that were determined to not quit. So those that just wanted to keep smoking had dropped from 17% down to 10%. And what we're about to look at now is some more qualitative data with that, and it's really hard, like with youth, like we can't really assess, like we can do something in a few years to see if they pick up smoking, but I guess we're trying to pick up just attitudes and behaviours towards smoking now. So that's what we're trying to assess now with focus groups in schools. And also, Chris, you can talk about a new project as well with that research with all our ex-clients as well.
So we're in the early stages of actually developing a survey or a selection of questions that all of our previous referred clients across the whole Mid-North Coast, which will be about 400 or 500 people, we expect to be able to actually call every single one of those people that have had any interaction with the Ready Mob team and ask them a series of questions around, was their quit attempt successful? How long were they quit for? Are they currently smoking? A little bit about what worked, what didn't work, but most importantly, what we want to know is if they are a continuing smoker, what more can we do as a regional team to support their quit journeys, whether that's specific group work, men's, women's business, so we are open to suggestions. We really want to grow and really we want to hear from our communities to find out exactly what we can develop that suits their needs.
And you also gave a very strong message today that you want to share what you've learnt and what you've produced and done with other communities around New South Wales. Why does that matter? What difference? Who do you hope to hear from?
We love the collective voice. We think there's strength in numbers, and when our organisations work together, then it's going to create a much stronger, more cohesive people walking in the same direction. So if we as a collective can share our social marketing, can share our social media, can put our TV commercials nationwide as opposed to just New South Wales or just the Mid-North Coast, we would love to hear from services that would like to share in that journey and maybe share some of their TV commercials with us, and we can put our logos on each other's things and create packages that can be delivered nationwide.
We want these packages of products. Unfortunately, there's still so many communities that I guess don't have the opportunity to have TIS teams in their area. So. And we've got some that are just below us in the Taree region. There's lots of places that would love to have some of that support, and so we're trying to make as many of our products shareable and so they're spread around and those messages can keep going to community. So.
And that's why we've created a lot of downloadables and PDF products on our website so that can be shared.
So people should just head to your website and check it out.
That's right, smokefreecommunity.com.au.
Lovely. Look, thanks so much for your time.